Hi guys, welcome back to Compound and Everything. My name is Chris and this channel is dedicated to discussing all things investing, finance and business with the simple goal of helping you build and grow a long-term investment portfolio. Now, of course, as you guys can see from the title, this video is going to be discussing Selfwealth, the brokerage. However, it is important for me to mention here that although, yes, for the most part, this is a criticism of Selfwealth, this is really a criticism of the entire brokerage landscape in Australia right now for all of us investors. We all see it discussed on the forums. We all see it posted in so many different places about how everybody wishes we had better offerings. So when I'm mentioning these points about Selfwealth, please keep in mind that really most of these points apply to every single brokerage. The reason I made it about Selfwealth is because I'm currently using Selfwealth. Now, of course, if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content on this channel, feel free to tap that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it. It will help you stay up to date on all of my latest videos. Anyway, let's get this one started. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, Selfwealth are a brokerage here in Australia and are actually also listed on the ASX. So it's not surprising that I've had the question asked 5 or 10 times over the last couple of months on if I think they are a good investment or not. Now, I do have a few stories I would like to tell in regards to sort of my commercial opinion on Selfwealth as an investment. However, I think by the end of this video, it will become clear that I think it's fair Selfwealth are provided with an opportunity to remedy some of these issues. So I will be saving my opinion on investing in Selfwealth for a later date. So when it comes to the platform itself, there are a couple of things I like and a couple that I really don't like. And the main reason I came across to Selfwealth was actually not for the cheaper trades. I was already with IG and they're very much comparable when it comes to trading costs. The first reason was chess sponsorship, and I won't go into too much detail here. However, I think it's important you guys understand why it might be necessary. Now, brokerages like IG operate under a custodian model, meaning that they hold shares on your behalf. Now, if that type of company was to go under, your ownership of those shares isn't as clear as if it would be if they were chess sponsored. Now, that's not to say that you would lose your shares. That's highly unlikely. However, it would mean that in that situation, you would be left having to do the legwork and get them transferred to another broker, which could be a very difficult and timely process. Now, I do want to mention here, chess sponsorship, like I said, is not exclusive to Selfwealth. This is a very common feature in most of the major brokerages, just not in the international offerings that are becoming very popular here in Australia right now. Now, I am going to leave a link below to give you guys more information on chess sponsorship. It just would have taken up too much time in this video for me to discuss it in more depth, so feel free to check that one out. So other than chess sponsorship, why else did I migrate? Well, the first reason was their user interface. What grabbed me from the start was their portfolio tracker. I'm a very visual person. I love to see my portfolio growing over time in a visual sense. And Selfwealth have that feature that allows you to visually see your portfolio growing. However, since using it for the last sort of 12 to 18 months, it is very simple and not as intuitive as dedicated tracking software like ShareSite, which was very disappointing to me because it's just something that I've really been looking for in a broker for a very long time, and I thought this might have been my solution. However, before I go on to the negatives, there is one more positive. I can say that Selfwealth have been very reliable in the sense of outages. I've literally used every major broker over the last 10 to 15 years in Australia, and almost all of the fringe suppliers as well. And most have common outages in one way or another. However, to date, the only one I've had in the sense of outages with Selfwealth was an outage that took place when I was placing a sell order. Now, I didn't think that sell order had been placed and I was very frustrated, but when I logged back on later on, that order had been filled and honored in their system automatically. I didn't even have to contact Selfwealth, so that is a big plus. Now, like I kind of hinted at above, if you are somebody that's looking at sort of using Selfwealth and pairing it with a portfolio tracker like ShareSite and don't really care about anything except cheap trades, then take my next comments with a grain of salt, because ultimately Selfwealth will be fine for those wanting to just buy and sell and track their portfolio via other means. Now, that does bring us to the negatives. But on the off chance that you do happen to be watching this and work for Selfwealth or be associated with them in any way, please commit to watching this all the way through and understand that I'm just a disappointed client who understands how much of an opportunity there might be in Australia right now for somebody to take this space and make it what it should be. Hell, my email is in the description below. Reach out and I'd be happy to get on a plane, fly down there to you guys and show you why I think you're wasting such a huge opportunity right now. So anyway, having said that, firstly, let's address the elephant in the room, which is you absolutely destroying that like button. I really didn't want to put this on here in a serious video, but I mean, YouTubers got to do what YouTubers got to do. So firstly, let's actually address the elephant in the room. The platform, like eToro, is based around copying or targeting or monitoring other members' portfolios. I mean, clearly, this is a horrible idea. And what is worse is that you cannot turn it off. 6 months ago, I made the mistake of clicking the wrong button and selecting the Selfwealth ETF target mode, I think it was called. And now everywhere I look, I have a target portfolio staring me in the face, suggesting I should match this weighting or that I'm overweighting here. It's just annoying and frustrating as a user. And I mean, leading on here, I think that is what is so frustrating as an Aussie investor. It carries on to my point a little bit more later in this video, which is that as Australian investors, we kind of have to sacrifice one feature to gain another. And I feel like lately, Selfwealth has kind of become the Robinhood of Australia, which is really disappointing and slightly embarrassing as a user. I mean, I put my referral code in each video, and I've never promoted it or mentioned it on any of my videos. And still, I think maybe 10 or 15 people have clicked it and signed up to that service by my referral code. And I think it reflects poorly on me when they begin to experience these same issues. And look, there is a lot more to discuss here when it comes to this facet of their business. However, like I said earlier in the video, I don't think it's fair that I give my opinion on the company as an investment prior to sort of them having the opportunity to fix some of these issues for users. So I think it's fair here that I move on from that point with a solution to what I believe would be an improvement on this eToro-like situation. In this example, let's just say management is set on keeping the feature they have active on their services. Well, at least let people create their own target portfolio and not force them into copying somebody else's. Let's say you have a goal of reaching, I don't know, $1 million or a $10 million portfolio, and you have maybe 50% ETFs and 50% individual securities as your goal, or any other combination of investment methods. Well, why not let somebody invest via their own goals and set their own goals? I mean, how cool would that be? You have the ability to work towards something that is based on your own research and hard work and not based on Big Baz at 69 who bought after paying the dip and is now the most successful portfolio on Selfwealth, who is always being promoted on the homepage. And when I say who is always being promoted on the homepage, I don't mean Big Baz at 69. I mean, there is always a user on the homepage that has had 180% gains for this year, and you look at it and his portfolio is some ridiculous holding that really didn't deserve to be placed there in a featured position. It would just be so much easier and more efficient and more productive for individual investors to be able to set their own goals. They might be monthly, yearly, or daily goals. It doesn't matter, that are based on maybe increasing their cash balance or increasing the security balance that they have in their portfolio. Or it might be, like I said, it could be anything. Let them decide. But seriously, I cannot get over how detached from reality of an idea this is. I mean, how in the world does this help new investors? It doesn't. All it does is harm them and put them in a position of either false security or unjustifiable loss. Nobody is learning in this situation. So please, if you must, keep that feature on your service that is letting people target or copy or whatever it is somebody else's portfolio, then at least give other users the ability to create and set their own experience as an investor. Because that is what is going to help new, intermediate, and experienced investors long term, is setting goals, learning about the market, and understanding what they can do to get better. But you're not going to learn how to get better from copying someone's portfolio other than the mistake you made, which is something you want to avoid in the first place. We don't want people entering this market and learning from a mistake of copying somebody else. We want some people to come into this market and learn how to make mistakes based on their own research like we all do. Now, my second gripe here is very much nitpicking, but surely other users will find it frustrating as well. For those of you that upgraded to the live data via a subscription, you will probably notice that the portfolio section of the website doesn't actually update live. When you load individual security pages, they're live, but your portfolio appears to be on the standard 20-minute delay, which really just seems like poor development, unless I'm missing something here in regards to licensing restrictions or something from their provider. But from what I've seen doing my research in the past, this just seems like either lazy development or something they've forgotten. Why I mention this point is because a lot of users like to watch the open and see their portfolios update live and not have to open each stock individually, and in some cases open the market depth manually and calculate sort of percentage gains or losses, which has been the case for me in the past. And look, to be fair here, I don't know. Maybe Selfwealth are sitting on this amazing new platform that could be released at any time. Perhaps they're planning on upgrading those features when they bring out the international share offering, which will reportedly take place later in this year. I do want to repeat myself though, this is not just a dig at Selfwealth. I mean, this is a reflection of every single young investor in Australia that is tired of second-class offerings in the investment world. And that really leads me to my third gripe here, which isn't just with Selfwealth. And this will probably end up being a video on its own, and let me know if you guys want that in the comments below. But I mean, seriously, what are the major brokerages doing here in Australia? Why are you all stuck in the early 2000s? I cannot get my head around why we don't have better platforms, better apps, and more functionality by now. You have almost 100,000 people on a watch list from Australia waiting for Robinhood. Why? Because although Robinhood has a bad reputation, they have some of the best software and interfaces in the world right now. And I cannot for the life of me understand why a company like Selfwealth, who obviously had done all of the hardest steps already in the sense of becoming a brokerage in Australia, cannot just put the effort into their UI and functionality. Like I said, it isn't just a dig at Selfwealth, it's everybody. But I mean, you have apps like Raise, who are an Aussie-based company who have actually put effort into their user interface, but they're not a traditional broker in the sense that you can go and buy any individual securities listed on the ASX or internationally. I mean, Aussie investors are just begging for somebody to stand up and give them a decent platform. If you charged me $15 a trade but had the best platform in Australia, I would be a very happy customer. See, this is the problem. I currently rely on at least on a good day, 4 or 5 different providers just to get what most US investors take for granted. And I think that it's about time something was done, to the point where I've actually thought of starting my own platform. I mean, you've got a gap here in the market that is so large and nobody is doing anything about it. It has to get to the point where somebody is going to stand up and go, you know what, it's time that we just fix this. It's completely sloppy. It is a poor reflection on the fintech space when it comes to Australian brokerages. So look, it's nothing personal, but I have this conversation on a daily basis. Everybody is sick of it. We want a real broker in Australia, and I think that this could really be Selfwealth. Clearly their business model was built for the people, and maybe they just lost their way or focused on other areas since going public. I really don't know. But look, I've put together a list of things that I have been requested to say and that I have seen mentioned on Aussie forums over the last couple of years. And these are things that people believe are missing from one single offering right now. Now, the first one is a world-class user interface. That doesn't just mean an app or just a web platform. It means as a whole. It doesn't matter where I log in, I get the exact same experience, a world-class experience, no matter where I am. The second is portfolio tracking built into the platform. And I mean share site level portfolio tracking. And look, I love share site, but they are literally filling a niche that shouldn't even exist. How have none of you gone and acquired this company and made them part of your offering? It is just, it's mind-boggling. I cannot understand it. The third point is fairly priced trades. Now, yes, Selfwealth comparatively in Australia are firmly inside of that category. And look, I guess we're all happy in taking baby steps towards feeless models, but that's the norm in most other countries right now, especially in America. Now, the fourth point is access to all international markets. A prime example of a company that does this perfectly is IG. Their interface is flawless when it comes to monitoring a large watch list with solid, reliable data. And it's not just that, but they offer fair conversion rates when it comes to currency conversions. Most major brokerages, and I won't say names here, have conversion rates that are worse than what you get at the airport when you get offered a plane. It is just ridiculous. Now, my fifth point here is live data. Now, to be fair, I don't know how this comes together. I know that there are quite expensive subscription models for providers in Australia. However, customers shouldn't be forced to pay solely for a monthly membership for live data streaming. It's just not what should be happening in 2020. If you create a great platform, people are going to be willing to pay a membership to just access that platform in general. So that will account for what you need to take and pay to your subscription fees for whatever your provider or the ASX happens to charge you. Now, the sixth one is the ability to track futures markets, and I mean all of them. IG is another great example of this. IG has the ability to track almost any market or any commodity or anything in the world, and it's so simple, and you can just do it. It's right there in front of you. And this is the problem with almost every other brokerage in Australia, is that people have to go to a third-party source to find this information, and often, most of the time, they have to subscribe to that third-party source, which is another additional cost. Now, my seventh point here, which doesn't personally affect me, but is definitely a great point nonetheless, is fractional shares. Now, I know there are companies that are now starting to come into Australia and some of the major guys that are entering into this market, but it is nowhere near where it should be. You know, I understand that this is probably a difficult one for some brokerages to add. I don't know the technicalities behind how you go about purchasing these securities, and that could be an expensive thing for that company to do. However, make it something that you're working towards. Give your users something that they can hope for. You know, say, look, we're going to bring out this feature when we hit this point, or whatever it might be. But it should be included in any brokerage that wants to be taken seriously in Australia, because a lot of new investors that just want to dollar cost into the market with $50, $100 or $200 a week or whatever it might be would love to be able to do that, especially with international offerings. You know, Amazon, what is it, $2,700 US a share at the moment, which is what, 4,000 odd Australian dollars. I mean, the average Aussie investor that is entering the market right now can't purchase an Amazon share every week. Whereas if they could have fractional shares, it would make a big difference. Anyway, I'm ranting on that point, but I think you guys get the point. Now, of course, these are just requests that I've seen myself. If you are watching this video and you want to make requests, comment below. Hopefully somebody from either Selfwealth or another platform will take this feedback on board and actually do something about it. Now, like I said a little earlier, I had planned on talking about Selfwealth as an investment. However, I think it's fair that they are given an opportunity to either watch this video or read the feedback that is going around in the community at the moment and make adjustments. I don't think I should be making comment on them right now as an investment, because I think that would come across biased and it isn't fair to them or to you. Now, I do want to make it clear here before I move on that I am not leaving Selfwealth right now. I'm still a Selfwealth client and I don't plan on leaving. Now, yes, that is partially because I don't believe there's any better options for Aussies right now. But once again, I don't have any hard feelings towards Selfwealth. This is just my opinion and my experience. Like I said, if you guys do have any feedback you would like to be passed through, hopefully if you comment below, it will rattle the cage and something might actually be done here in Australia to give investors what we all really want. And like I said, Selfwealth, I am more than happy once the borders open again to take my own money, purchase a flight, and fly down there to you guys so we can try and create an open dialogue between users or Australian investors and developers and the management team there. I mean, at the end of the day, all we are looking for is a better solution, and you seem to be in a position to be able to offer that. Anyway, guys, that does bring me to the end of this video. I hope you've been enjoying the content on this channel so far. If you have, feel free to smash that like button. And of course, if you haven't already, please press that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it so you can stay up to date on all of my latest videos. Hopefully, that's my only rant for the year. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.